Welcome to the Seoul Patch Podcast, the podcast where three American expats explore different topics related to living and working in South Korea. With a combined 50 years of living experience in Asia, there are plenty of stories to tell. So, pop in your AirPods and make yourself comfortable. It's time for the Seoul Patch Podcast.
That's crazy that there's like a lot about Cyworld, but nothing about Kakao hardly.
Yeah, right? Actually, That is weird. You'd think Kakao would have like a way bigger Wikipedia page, considering that it's bigger than Cyworld. Like, yeah. But no, there's not a lot on it.
Kakao is pretty massive. I was just talking to my girlfriend about it, trying to get my mind around what it is, and
it's really it's so massive, and I don't even know everything that's involved in it. I don't know how massive it is.
It's bigger than, like I said, like the Facebook of Korea, and she says it's bigger than that because it does more than that.
Yeah, that actually sounds pretty fair, that it is bigger than the Facebook of Korea. What's interesting about Kakao is that it is very Korea only, actually. They've tried going out of Korea and have kind of failed with that, which is even more interesting considering they actually started. One thing I found in this article here, I found one really good article, even though the Wikipedia page has almost nothing on Kakao. I did find one really good article on it, and something kind of cool about Kakao that I had no idea about. It was one of the first like chat apps out there. Basically, it was released in March of 2010.
Oh, really?
It first came out.
It's that old?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
March of 2010 is when it came out, which, according to this article, was, quote, mere months after WhatsApp's release in February of 2009. So, well, not months, that's a whole year after, but whatever. I guess 1 year is a number of months, regardless. Yeah, so like WhatsApp, I guess, was one of the first, and I don't use WhatsApp. I don't know how I have it, but I don't really use it. But Kakao has been out there for a really long time, like similar actually to Cyworld. That's interesting.
Actually, Cyworld peaked around the time that the Kakao came out, then, because Cyworld was kind of peaking around 2010, 2011, right?
What's also interesting about that is, so Kakao came out pretty much. It was one of the first messenger apps after smartphones became a thing, basically.
Right, it kind of dovetailed
the first
perfectly.
iPhone, I think, was 2007, I believe. So less than 3 years after it came out, after the first iPhone, and then smartphones were still just starting. And I have no idea when the first like Samsung or Android phones were a thing.
Yeah.
But within 3 years of the first smartphone, or of the first iPhone, I don't think that was the first smartphone officially, was it? Not important.
I think the iPhone was. I think there was also
officially the first smart.
Was the BlackBerry ever considered a smartphone? Is BlackBerry like something else?
BlackBerry's kind of its own thing.
Okay.
But BlackBerries are BlackBerries. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Kakao came out really early on, which is an interesting parallel to Cyworld, because Cyworld was kind of developed independently, like you were saying. They didn't copy Facebook or any of those other things. It just kind of happened really early on.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some really early innovators in Korea with some of these really big apps, which I guess is contrary to what you and I were thinking last week, Jack, about how it feels like a lot of these apps are copied from abroad.
Well, I mean, like Messenger was one that I was familiar with for a long time, right? Like Microsoft Instant Messenger, just Messenger.
Oh, right.
And that's like what you would use from your PC to chat with people. And so I used that a lot in the early years.
Kakao was one of the first native messenger apps for smartphones. Not one of the first apps. I mean, of course, there was, like we were talking about last week, there was ICQ and AOL Messenger and all of these other things, like dating way back. But for smartphones, Kakao was really early on. And it grew crazy quick, but again, pretty much only here in Korea, which I think it's both a success story and it's kind of a little bit of a failure as well, that they haven't been able to tap into the foreign market. Like, let's see, so by December of 2010, according to this article that I have here, 5 million users were on it. So that's from March to December, 10 months, 9 months, something like that. They had 5 million users. But then only 2 years after that, they had 70 million people on there. Not only in Korea. In this case, this is
70 million worldwide.
Abroad, but it was, I mean, a large majority of Koreans.
I mean, if I try to find a Korean phone that doesn't have Kakao on it, like what would that be? That'd be like finding a diamond, right? Like in the
I've got a friend. He might even be listening to the podcast, and I've given him shit about it before. I'll do it on the podcast too. It's on the record. I don't get it, but he refuses to get Kakao. He's like the only human I know in Korea that has a cell phone and doesn't have Kakao.
Smartphone?
Smartphone. He has a smartphone.
Okay, because I know another guy that
that's different. Yeah, we have a coworker who's like
purposely leading a less techie life, right?
That's a whole different thing. Yeah. Like not only do you not have Kakao, you probably also don't have like, Google, Safari. You don't have anything.
I don't think he understands how wheels work. He's back in the Stone Age at this point.
You just like, I can dig that. I can dig it if you don't want to go along with the trend. I'm all about that. Like that's neat. I think
monastic living cool. is different. Yeah.
Yeah, monastic living. And that's respectable. And that's like that takes a certain amount of discipline, and it makes for an interesting conversation. I want to know about you. Like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you hurting yourself? Why are you hurting yourself?
But you have a nice shiny smartphone with no Kakao on it. It doesn't make any sense.
Saying, and that's what's weird to me.
What are his reasons?
I don't mean to make it sound like it's not respectable that he does that. I don't know. I tried showing him it's really easy. Just you download it, you have it.
Does he have other messaging apps like for American?
I talked to him on just regular, what do you call SNS?
Oh, just chat, messages.
And he's SMS. Like the old SMS. SMS. Yeah, he's the only person that I talk to on that. Like no one else sends me a message on that. Even my family's on Kakao at this point or on WhatsApp. So for me, that icon, the basic messaging with my phone, that's his app to me. If I see that notification, it's him.
It's the only person. It's either him or it's like LG or something, or it's somebody.
Yeah, some spam.
So so I could say like it irritates me that he doesn't do Kakao, but at the same time, it's kind of sweet because it's like he's got his own little app. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kakao though is so
ages. Yeah.
It's so everywhere in Korea. Like you were talking, the thing is, it's not even smartphones. I've seen flip phones that have a Kakao button. Like how sometimes you'll have TV remotes now, and on the TV remote there's like a Netflix button, right? Like it's programmed onto the remote. It has like the Netflix logo. Yeah, I've seen not smartphones. Sorry, like flip phones, like older like 2G phones that have a Kakao button.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So
no, right. So Kakao is so. I mean, it's just everywhere. Like one article I saw said it's like that's pretty much the first app that Koreans download when they get a new phone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it probably is one of the first, if not the first app. If I got a brand new phone and I didn't, immediately sync everything over, if I was just downloading, what apps do I need now? It's like Kakao. That's the first.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's like the phone. I mean, Kev, like
the phone.
Like you and I, we talk pretty much every week.
Right.
Even not on the podcast, probably like 5-6 times a week. And how many times do we actually use the phone? Like it's
these days I'm scared to talk to you on the phone. If it weren't for this podcast, I would have forgotten what you look like.
Yeah, like we don't make phone calls. Like that's not a thing. No. Like
actually, I was talking about this earlier. My wife has mentioned that you're quite good at actually calling people. So although we do talk 99.9% of everything is on Kakao, I actually do remember what you sound like, fortunately.
I do get a ping of anxiety when I call people that are not like my family though. It's not my daughter or my wife. It's like I get a little bit of butterfly, like, oh man, this text messaging is much better. Like I don't know.
When was the last time that you guys encountered a voicemail message?
Oh,
is that still a thing? You can do that?
I don't think so.
There was one leaving a message. I don't think.
Like I remember back in the day when you get a voice. Like I used to be pretty good at leaving voicemail messages. Like I knew how to get to the information I wanted to say. Like, hey, I'm going to be here this time. Call me. Done. And it was already still a few years ago, but I called someone somewhere, and it suddenly was like, "Hey, leave a message," and I froze. I was like, "What the fuck?" Closed my phone really quick. Like, I don't know what to do. I completely freaked out. It was so weird to experience that again, because just not.
It's like the mic is just passed to you. And now from Kevin.
Like, oh no, I'm not prepared for this.
And just think about that, like what you say cannot be erased from your end anymore. Like you just,
true.
some random thought pops in your head, or whatever, or you just don't like the way the message came out, or whatever, or there's nothing you could do. It's an embarrassing message. I mean, have you ever played like an embarrassing message? I just remember my roommate. I had a roommate. This is back in like 99, 2000, and this guy wanted to go on a date with her, and he left this just like sprawling message that was like it lasted for like 7 minutes. Wow. Which is like 6 minutes and 45 seconds too long for a message, And I remember we just listened to it like several times because it was hilarious. But I just don't leave a message. It's bad. Just write a text. Text message is fine, but leaving a
text
voicemail
really
is crazy. You're
text messaging is so. I mean, even before messaging apps came out, just text messaging was so big, so prevalent. It just became normal for people just to text each other. I had a friend here in Korea back in 2009-ish, and I remember asking her when I first met her, like, what one of her hobbies was, and she's like, my hobby is text messaging. It's like, what? How's that? I was like, hold on, show me your phone, because it used to track like how many text messages you sent in a month, because you have to like pay for them or have an unlimited thing turn up. It was 4,000 messages in a month, and at the time I was freaked out. But I mean, now I probably send far more than that in Kakao, because you just send like random emojis and things like that. So totally probably send a ton more. But messaging has just been around for forever.
But Kakao is like the fine wine of instant messaging. Like they have perfected it to the point where it's so convenient and so smooth. I'll give you an example. Like today, I needed to transfer some pictures. I needed to take a picture on my phone and get it onto my computer really quickly. Boom, Kakao. It was right up on my computer. I pulled it right down. I hit the right click button, and you can save it, and it's so smoothly just saved.
So did you like send it to yourself in Kakao?
I sent it to my wife's Kakao, and I told her never mind. It's
so let's talk a little bit about that for anybody that's listening. Like some of the things that are fundamentally different. Does WhatsApp allow you to do that? Like what Kevin just said, where one thing that I use a lot in Kakao is I can send things to myself. I have a chat with me. So the interface is really nice. The interface is just like you're chatting with someone, but you're chatting with yourself. So it's an easy way to like save
like a note.
Yeah, it's like a note, but when you're within the app and you don't want to go out,
right?
Or if you want to test something to see how it sends, if the link works, I don't know. I save things that people send me there if I want it temporarily. I consider it kind of like
like an escrow something.
Yeah, well, it's one step to the garbage, but like if you sent me an article like for a podcast, we're going to talk or something, and I want to have it at my fingertips, but I don't want it to like take up a note or be like tied up in my files or anything. It's like, I'll just send it to myself. And then when I'm always in the Kakao app every day. I mean, that's pretty much what you wake up and go to bed with. So I open it up and I'm always seeing, because you have like people who sent you messages and they're little like, highlights, little red or whatever they have, next to it says like, Jack, and then it has like, number of messages that you sent. Right. But if I see my name, then it's like, oh yeah, this is like priority right here. This is stuff that I wanted to send to myself.
I use my solo chat very rarely. I use it basically as a note just for saving things. Like the one thing that I have it saved in there is I have my bank information, because often people will ask you for your bank information. So I have like one chat message that basically has, like my name, my bank name, and my bank number. Because if people ever need to send me money, in Korea, that's super easy. You just send them your bank information and they send it over to you, so that I can just go over to my Kakao and it's already there. So I just forward that to whomever is asking. So I don't have to type in my bank information. So it basically is a saved Kakao message of something that I often forward to other people. That's how I use.
Or you could do Kakao Bank, which is
I could,
yeah,
but I don't.
I'm sorry. Oh, I just stole your line.
No,
sorry.
I was going to say something else, but that's a really good point too. It's another thing that Kakao is really, I think, dialed in compared to some of the other apps, is that they're doing some fintech stuff, I think is what you would call it.
Let's get to that later, though. I think we should stick with just about Kakao.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, what about the interface? We didn't really talk about the yellow, like the iconic yellow. And what is it, black or brown? I was looking at it and I can't tell if it's dark brown or black.
It might depend on what interface you're using. I have my phone always set in night mode, so it might look different on night mode. I will admit, I think, although I don't use too many chat programs other than Kakao, like I really don't. I do have WhatsApp. Is WhatsApp the Facebook one, or is
WhatsApp is Facebook? Yeah, I've never used
it. So I don't use WhatsApp at all. I use WeChat with someone who I know in China. But otherwise
I heard about that.
Yeah, I have WhatsApp, but I don't really use it. Otherwise, I use Kakao. The one, and I love Kakao. I do think it's like one of my favorite chatting programs. I will admit that I go back and forth between absolute favorites. I kind of like Discord in some ways a little bit more, but that's different. That's that almost does more than chatting. That's like you can create entire channels and everything for all kinds of stuff. So that's a bigger.
Kakao has channels too, right?
Your story, right? Kakao Story. Is that
no? Like,
okay.
Yeah, I don't really know how that works, actually. I don't really use Kakao channels at all.
Yeah, my girlfriend does a lot of business, right? So she has her own business, and so she's kind of a ninja when it comes to these sorts of things. She showed me some other neat tricks. I think this might be iOS. This might not be Kakao, but you can program in like auto text. So she has auto text for like addresses.
That's almost certainly in the app that's in your Android, or I'm sure either one of them do it. Yeah, that's not Kakao.
Yeah. I'm surprised it's not, though, because they seem to be like whatever it is that they're like ahead of the game, like everything, the user friendliness of it. I don't know I don't know what it is, but maybe it's something to do with the color scheme that just makes it feel like warm and comfortable. Like it's strange because my SMS just seems kind of cold, and it's kind of like the Star Wars. That's like the Empire, it's just like it's very. I just finished Mandalorian season 2, so now every reference is going to be Star Wars related.
We'll watch for it then.
Yeah, just check me a little bit. But it's just like, I don't know. There's something about that. Just it is very comfortable, and it might be what we talked about last week too. The Korea's love of like little characters, because
the Kakao characters. That's where when I talked to my brother in the States, because like Ryan's family, my family only uses Kakao for me.
Same for my brother.
It's not that. So oftentimes when we're chatting, sometimes I'll catch my brother because we do like gaming stuff together as well. So we use Discord over there, and he'll be chatting. He's like, "Oh, I miss those Kakao emojis. Like, why don't they have them over here?" So yeah, he agrees with me that the Kakao characters especially are, and just their emoticon game is
there's no larger menu than
let's talk emoticons really quick. Like, I want to know, can you describe your favorite Kakao emoticon?
Absolutely.
I've got my number one. I've got a bunch that I love, but I've got definitely number one.
Do you mean the character, or the specific one that you often send?
Specific one?
Yeah, your favorite emoticon on Kakao.
Yeah,
mine is so like is so like a fastball down the middle. Like, it's such a basic one. Okay. It's the rabbit that is like giving the thumbs up. So if I look at it, it is let me see here, make sure. I think it's a rabbit. I'm pretty sure it's a rabbit. It's got it's a yellow rabbit with a white.
With the 2 thumbs up?
No, just 1 thumbs up.
Just one.
Yeah.
But that's the character's pretending to be a rabbit, right? It's the one that has the hoodie with the bunny ears.
Yeah, it must be like a character that's
there's some deep psychology that I read about these characters. Actually, a friend of mine once explained this to me. They're like the duck character. Do you know the one where he's like on the floor kicking his feet, crying like he's miserable, and his feet are flying off? Have you seen this?
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, he has a complex because his feet are small, so he wears fake feet. These characters are dynamic. Yeah.
That's disturbing. I thought the peach was an ass for the longest time. Did you ever?
A lot of people thought that, man. I wouldn't feel bad.
Because Korea, like if you live in Korea, that like you'll see like dong, poo is like a character. It's like a pile of shit is like a cute little teddy bear that you could buy it.
That's a podcast in itself. And
right?
if you're listening to this podcast world, if you're listening to this, and if you don't know about the affinity for poo, just Google it. Just Google it, and you'll see how cute poop is. You never knew. You never knew how cute.
It is like they've turned poop cute in Korea. I went to the market, and my daughter and I were dying of laughter because they were selling dongbang, like poop bread. So it was like, it was shaped like poop. There was no poop in the ingredients. So just as long as we understand, but we just thought it was hilarious. And because I'm, a maturity of a, 11-year-old. So I'm all for the poop jokes. I love it.
They stay funny.
Fantastic.
They're classic.
I'll love it till I'm, yeah.
So Ryan, what's your favorite if Kakao Friends Kakao emoji?
I don't use it so much anymore because like in Kakao, you can, of course, like many of these apps, I'm sure other apps, you can download sets, right? So new sets.
I've bought some more.
Right. Yeah. And if you want to, you can pay like $1 and then you get like the expanded packs and stuff. And so being that we're all teachers, I use Kakao a lot with my students, and my students are, they're 20-year-olds. They're on top of this stuff. So whatever they're using, like their little characters, you can click on it. You can just see the set. So I'm always picking up the latest and greatest from my students. So the sets that I use the most is not actually my favorite. I save my favorite. It's a single character.
Only special people get it.
It's a special moment. So Kevin, you've seen, I know I've used it with you. It's to convey outrage is the purpose of the
I think
character.
I know which one.
He already knows it.
About as well.
So it's the character of one of the ducky guy. He has like two faces. So it's this duck character. Yeah, he knows it. It's these two characters. It's a duck character, and he goes like, he hulks out, so he has like this evil version of himself. So in this little and it's an animated emoji or emoticon. I don't know the difference.
Emoticon. I believe.
Emoticon is a character.
Yes.
Should have researched.
What is an emoji then? What was the? I thought I watched the emoji movie. Is that like an app?
The emojis are kind of the official ones, like the ones that like have the different people and like all of those. I will send you. There's a really cool podcast, 99% Invisible, that they did an episode on emoji. I'll send it to you. I'll find it and send it to you. It's one of my favorites. It's fascinating.
So should I say emoji in this context?
No, I think emoticon is correct.
Right, so I'm describing emoticon. It's a character.
Sure.
It's a cartoon, and when you send it, it's animated. It's a little loop, right? Like many of these.
Oh, it's animated. Okay.
Those are the best ones, man. You got to step it up if you're not using.
My game is
yeah, you're getting old. Yeah. You're getting old. So this character he's standing with like 1 foot back, 1 foot front, on the edge of a cliff. And he's holding his like toy stuffed rabbit in one hand in front of himself in a fist around its neck. And he's holding it over the cliff. And he's got like, his expression on his face is anger. And he opens his mouth and he breathes fire and lights the bunny on fire and burns it. It's like he's screaming fire over this bunny, holding it by its neck over the abyss. I can't think of another emoticon that conveys
rage in a better
rage
fashion.
In such a beautiful, it's like I think a 3-second loop. It hits it right there for me. So I savor this one when I'm really outraged. Yeah.
You got like our listeners, if you're not Kakao savvy or not sure what it is, like the emoticons allow you to essentially capture way more nuanced emotions than you can. Like that one emoticon could say, like the picture says 1,000 words, an emoticon can say 1,000 words. You can.
I can't find that one, Ryan, right now. That's weird. There's one emoticon that I've lost before. There's one that has disappeared from me. Like I know for a fact, and I haven't been able to find it in years, and I have no fucking idea where it disappeared to. It's driven me nuts a bunch of times. There used to be one of the characters like checking his watch and like tapping his feet, like where are you? Like you're late type of thing. Yeah, I'll have to check that later. But there was one of that, and I know I remember using it in the past, and I can't find it in my sets anymore. And I don't know if I'm going crazy, if I've lost it, where it went, but yeah, somehow it disappeared from mine. That was one of my favorites. I don't know if I have a number one.
I think it's hilarious that like three like middle-aged guys are talking about Kakao on a podcast, because like our Kakao game is broke compared to like a 14-year-old Korean girl. Like, could you imagine like what level they're communicating? There must be like a whole language of emoticon language, like where you don't even have to type a word. It's just like a.
I think there's more emoji language than emoticon.
Or sorry, emoji language. Yeah,
but that's I
don't know the difference between those two
as well. Yeah, I got called out by one of my students a while ago because I still do the little like carrots for a happy face that they do here in Korea, and she's like, "That's so old. You're an ajashi. You're an old man if you're using those. Like we don't use those anymore." I was like, "Oh, okay, good to know. Thank you." I'm outdated.
Do you ever get like nervous? Like I think I just use like that one fallback emoticon or emoji, whatever it is, because I have a fear of like offending somebody. Like, what if it's interpreted wrong? I don't know what these mean. It's like I don't really speak the emoji language, and so if I'm sending it to like to you guys, I don't care, whatever, I'll just randomly choose one. But I remember my wife driving with her once, and she asked me to reply to somebody using her phone, and I just kind of chose like a cool looking little character and sent it off, and she kind of freaked out a little bit. He's like, "What did you send? What was the emoji? What was it? Like, what message did you just send to I don't know. Does it have a message? It was just a character." And I hadn't connected the dots, like it actually means something. It's not just like, okay, like a period on the end of your chat. It's like, it's actually part of the language. So it's pretty interesting. And they're always making new ones, right? Like
there's actually a subscription service. Like we were saying that you could buy new sets, and I've bought a couple of new sets myself. I have like 3 or 4 sets that I've bought for myself because they're like $1 or $2, whatever. And it's kind of fun to have them. But I recently saw an advertisement, and Kakao pops it up to me where it's like $3 a month or something. So it's not a lot, but I don't really want a subscription to Kakao for just emojis, but it's not much. But they give you basically unlimited access to all of their sets because they have like 1,000 or more. I don't know, a ridiculous amount of sets. So then you could download all of them, because sometimes I'll see like one of my wife's younger cousins, and they'll text me, and they're using a completely new set that I've never seen, and they're going out. So there's so many new ones that you just can't keep up on today, because Kakao is just.
You don't want to be a 40-year-old guy with like a super wicked emoji game, do you? I mean, it's
don't you?
I mean, do you really? Like, I don't know. It's a little terrifying, It's like Beanie Babies or something. You know what I mean? It's like these gonna be worth something in 10 years from now. You
gotta toe the line though, right? Because like if you're just using the basic set, like I don't know, like
I know it is really sad. I'm totally guilty of I'm a basic basic bro.
But if you're freestyling in the vocabulary of the maybe you go too far and starting to seem kind of pedo or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Like there's gotta be this line in the middle where
let's try and pull things somewhat back off this. I mean, because
I'm sorry, this is a totally different conversation, right?
We've gone way off, which is fun, but we've gone way off.
That's what we do.
To go ahead and bring it back to a little bit of how Kakao is making money, I guess, from that is the emojis. These emoticons. Like, have you guys seen the stores? Like there's entire shops that just
I seen the store. I have a 13-year-old daughter who about the peak Kakao Friends time was like 9 or 10 years old. So let's go to the Kakao store in they've got one in Gangnam. They have 2. There's a competition. There's something called Line Friends, and then there's something called Kakao Friends, right?
Okay, well, so those are different companies.
Yes, they're different companies, but they're obviously like Line Friends is the beta to Kakao's VHS. To steal the parlance of the 80s times there.
Although, interestingly about that, so Lime is from it's Naver's chat app.
Oh, okay. Yes, right. Okay.
Which I learned when I was reading.
And about Kakao is Daum, right? Daum is Daum.net.
Is Daum, yeah.
Yeah, Daum. Okay.
And although Kakao was Kakao before it was Daum, and then Kakao bought Daum back in like 2015 or something like that. Hold on, I have that.
Is Daum the Google or is Daum the Yahoo of the
Yahoo?
Searches?
Naver is number one.
It's the Yahoo, right? Naver's the Google, and
Naver
Daum
is definitely
Yeah.
The Google of Korean searches.
But Kakao is the Google of chats, and Line Friends. What's Neighbors Chat?
Korea, is it Lime is Neighbors Chat.
Oh, okay.
And that's something about this is, so like when Korea took off back in like 2010, 2012, it just exploded here in Korea. And at this point, like 99.9% of people in Korea have like, well, actually, I mean, like 87% of Koreans use it, but you know, that includes like old people who just don't have phones, or really young people who don't. So of people who have smartphones, it's pretty much everyone. And they tried branching out to other countries. And this is where I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but basically Lime Naver is apparently bigger than I thought. I thought Naver was like also in Korea only, but Naver is actually pretty big, because according to another site that I found, Naver and Lime is actually pretty big in like Japan, Taiwan, Spain, Indonesia. Line, Line, sorry, not lime, not like the fruit.
Right.
Line, Line. But
Line
yeah,
Friends.
that's actually, so Japan is really good, but other countries, according to this article, Taiwan, Spain, Indonesia, and Thailand. Why Spain? That's out of nowhere. So Line took over in those countries. So Naver did really well there. So Kakao tried to go abroad and kind of failed. And so that's where Kakao, like, it owns Korea in terms of chat programs and in terms of a lot of other things. It's just like completely in Korea, but they weren't able to branch out internationally.
That's so weird. I don't understand.
Some people think it was because they just were too slow, basically.
Okay.
From it.
Like, and then like once you're the first one in the door, you've kind of established yourself. It's very much a viral mentality, right? Like it seems to me like these things.
Once you have Kakao, then I need Kakao because I need to start talking to you. And so it got very big. You know, Kakao, one of the reasons that they started going so quick was because of their game platform. Their game platform, Kakao Games, is one reason that they grew very quickly. And WeChat, which is the Chinese one, they basically followed the Kakao strategy by using games and social elements, and that allowed them to expand in China. And that's where WeChat is now. Like, I think WeChat is to China what Kakao is to Korea.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's the default.
Yeah, like pretty much everyone in China has WeChat.
What do the people use in America then? I haven't been there for so long. I don't know.
I have no idea, honestly.
That's weird. I don't know.
Their
Messenger.
Yeah, I think a lot of my friends just use either, because if you're on Android, then you have Google, and so a lot of people just use Google Hangouts.
Okay.
And so many people use iPhones as well, and because iPhones, their messaging in iPhones, if you just send an SMS message, so like a normal message from one iPhone user to another iPhone user, it's free. It essentially uses Kakao. It's not sending it via SMS. It's sending it via the Apple version of Kakao, but it's in their Messenger app. So many people in America have iPhones as well that they just use messaging.
They just use they just have their whole, like the thing that you said, Ryan, that you never use except just with your friend. I think that's what everybody uses back.
And that's probably something worth pointing out. That's probably a difference between here and America. Like in America, you need to ask probably, what, I'll send you a message on what, because people have different phones if you have Android or iOS, whereas here people have Android and iOS, but everybody's using that Kakao app. So if you don't have WhatsApp, I think is like the ubiquitous one in the US, but if you're not down with Facebook or whatever, then or like for these other reasons where you might get, it's cheaper, I don't know, like to work within one ecosystem or the other. I think that's not a thing in Korea where it is in the States, where that's still a conversation. I don't think that's never really come up. Like if someone wants to send me a message, I know this is, hey, what's your Kakao? That's what you say when you're gonna send a message. What's your Kakao?
Yeah,
I would say, and again, this is a funny question that every time, like students ask me, like, what's popular in America? You're American. I'm like, I don't know. When I came to Korea, smartphones weren't a thing in America, so I have no idea. The only thing I would guess for America, because I'm on Reddit a lot, and Reddit posts, like people post their message screens of, like random shit, like they're quitting from their job or whatever, and so they post their messages up on Reddit. It always looks like it's coming from the messaging app, like just the standard like message, like SMS.
Oh yeah, it does, right? Because it has the yellow and it has that.
Right, like I don't see people screenshotting like Kakao or WhatsApp or whatever and uploading those. So
yeah, okay.
based on my Reddit usage, I would assume Americans are using messaging apps.
They're using like the default phone, whatever their phone messenger app is.
I think that might be it. But again, I don't know. Any Americans who actually know anything about America these days want to let us know, please. Please do, because I'm curious.
Yeah, we need a New York patch or something, or a
yeah. It's funny how that works.
Does that work? That doesn't work, right? Okay.
But so Kakao in Korea though is so everywhere. It's so big, and it's not just the chat, but they do everything. Like you mentioned earlier that we got away from. There's Kakao Bank, right? Mm-hmm. So they got into sending money. It's a way just that you can send money to your friends. So if you pay for dinner really quick and be like, dude, I'll send you $10 later, and you just send it via Kakao. There's Kakao T, the taxi app, right?
Yep. Oh, right. It's like an Uber type thing, right?
That's the taxi app these days, really, as well. Almost to the extent that Kakao Talk is for chat. Kakao Taxi is for taxis. I don't think it's
Kakao Taxi is great
as high, but it's pretty high.
Really, really easy to pick up a ride. The rates are great. I use it all the time.
Although there is some controversy about that, where apparently the drivers, I don't exactly understand it. Like I haven't found too much on it in detail, but basically, so any driver can download the Kakao Taxi app to be a Kakao Taxi driver. Like you might see some taxis on the road that actually say like, Kakao Taxi on the side.
Yeah.
But other taxis, even if they don't say Kakao Taxi officially, they still are on the Kakao app. They might be on 2 or 3 different apps, but they've got the Kakao one running as well. But if you've noticed these days in Kakao, there's also like the Kakao Blue taxi, and there's different taxis that you can hail, right? And I haven't taken the taxi in a while.
There's like 4, maybe even 5.
There's a bunch. Yeah, there's a few different ones that you can hail.
I was just
one of the big controversies is it's almost like how people are complaining about Facebook or Amazon being anti-competitive by snapping up other things and stuff like this, where this isn't exactly anti-competitive. It's a little bit different, but where Kakao taxi drivers, there's another version that they can sign up for as well, so they can pay some. Because of course, like if they pick up a ride, they're paying X% of the ride for the fee for using Kakao. But there's another kind of subscription that they can pay for, which basically gives them priority in picking up rides. And so there's some controversy there where if you don't pay Kakao, if you're not one of their premium Kakao drivers, or I don't know what they call it, I don't know what the word is, but essentially like you're not paying Kakao X number of dollars per month to be they're one of their official drivers, then you get second pickings at people who want to get a taxi, which means that you're not going to get very many rides, because of course there's so many people that are paying for it now that and the second someone's ride picks up, it's like someone is clicking on it instantly. And so Kakao the people are complaining that it's unfair because you have to pay them in order to be competitive. It's an unfair business advantage.
Sounds like a lot of those like gig economy type of companies, they're always kind of changing it a little bit. I heard that there was another you can also use Kakao to rent those electric scooters. I'm
not surprised.
If anybody's listening and curious, there is 5 different options
for taxi,
basic taxi rental. So if you're visiting Korea, I'm always talking to like the general audience that's like a noob or coming to Korea.
Right.
It's the things I would want to know.
Yeah.
I'm always bringing it back to that. But if you are going to come and visit, or if you're new here, you got 5 options on this app. The one you want is the general request because it's the cheapest. You probably would have guessed that. There's also Venti, Blue, Deluxe, but I think Ride for Cleanliness, Wide and Comfortable. Yeah, so these are like if you want like a minivan maybe. Deluxe, I think, is it comes to you directly, so it's like someone's like on call or something. You probably pay extra for that. There's also Black. There's Black taxis here. A lot of cities have this. I think Korea's are probably the funniest.
Is that the luxury thing?
Black taxi here. Have you taken one?
I think I have actually. Well, it's like a chairman usually, like a it's a Genesis.
Yeah, it's a nice car.
It's a luxury brand.
Yeah. When you get in, it smells like cologne, and they have like
right,
sticks of gum that you get to.
Yes,
Haven't done this, Kev? It costs twice as much if you want to do the black premium ride option. It has a little word balloon here. It says, "Book a safe, virus-free car." So that's what black cabs are pumping these days.
First virus-free, full of virus, but number 5, no virus. There you go.
Virus-free. That's lame.
Yeah, so I stick with the virus cabs. That's just
it boosts my immune system, you know.
So there's taxis, there's pay, they've got so much stuff. I actually recently learned from students were telling me, I mean, there's like, I don't actually know how many there are, but there's so many different Kakao things. They've got like their own webtoon app now. There's a Kakao TV app. There's like, they've got kind of their TV, they've got like their own music ones. They've got what am I looking at? Oh, Kakao Story, which is kind of like their Facebook version. It's their proper social network.
Right.
They've got their own, you know, bus and map apps for driving. Like
Kakao Nabi is like essential. I use it every day. Like it tells you.
Honestly, I think the Naver one works better for driving.
Oh, really? Because the Nabi one will tell you like when you're coming up on a speed camera. It'll make a sound.
That's all of them. The Naver one does that. The TMAP one does that. When I got my most recent phone, I was like, I was trying to figure out what I asked all my friends what do they use, and I tried the Kakao one, and I found I was often driving my dog down to the vet on the other side of town, and it would take me on these kind of like weird little streets, and I wasn't sure if I was saving time or not. And I found, for me at least, that the Naver one gives me more direct instructions. I also found that I like personally the interface of the Naver map more. Because if you've driven in Korea, one thing you know is that the streets here were designed by someone who drank too much soju. Like
and they were eating noodles at the time. They're like, oh, look at these noodles.
They got inspired by the noodles.
Yeah.
Because you're on the freeway and there's like a turnoff, and then 50 meters later there's another turnoff, and 50 meters later there's another turnoff, and you have to know like which one of these turnoffs you're supposed to take, and you know they all come up super quick. And the Naver app, for me at least, it makes it much more clear to know which turnoff I'm supposed to take and which lane I'm supposed to be in.
That's happened to me a million times
and
on
things like
app.
that.
Yeah.
So personally, I prefer the Naver map one, but Kakao has one, and it is pretty good. I'm not saying it's a bad app. I just prefer the Naver one.
You just take the first exit, and then you do a U-turn, and you come back, and you take the second one, and then you do a U-turn, and you come back, and you take the one you wanted. It's
I've done that.
45 minutes later, you're right back where you were. You know.
The one though, going back to Kakao's apps, and I'm only touching on like a small percentage of all the different apps that they have. They've probably got like 60 or so. I don't know. But the one that really surprised me not too long ago is that there is a Kakao barbershop app, like a specific app just for booking your haircut in Kakao. Like, I didn't even know that there were apps in general that did that. I figured it was
is it like the barbershop that you told me you went to? You went to a barbershop where you said that they give you cocktails. Didn't you do this?
No, there was one salon that I went to that they gave me a beer, but I was like a super regular there for a really long time. So I think
it wasn't part of their gimmick. It was like,
I don't think it was part of their proper gimmick. Okay. No, this was just
I just imagine like a tequila sunrise with like clumps of hair falling into the top.
Yeah, it's just like choice.
Yeah.
No, this was the salon that my wife and I have been going to for a while. Like they did our wedding hair and things like that. So they knew us quite well. So we went in and they were like, "Oh, we got a beer in the fridge. Do you want one?" I was like, "Yes." Sure. So yeah, that was cool. But no, there's like a proper Kakao barber or salon app where they like do rankings and everything, and you can make your reservations and blah 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 blah. And I thought that was surprising because I just didn't know that there were any apps specifically dedicated to salons, and there is now one in Kakao, and most of like I've just done Naver reservations, but you can do Naver reservations for everything, but that's not specifically like Naver barbers, like, but Kakao has a barber shop, so they've got everything.
To me, they're just like whatever they can come up with in their Monday morning meetings. just any idea, they're starting to design it, right? Like it's just
another practical use case. Again, I didn't even know this. I use this app all the time, the taxi app, but I've never really looked at the details, and it keeps changing a little bit because they update stuff. I always just get like, basic cab, get home. That's the end of it. There's a ton of options in here now. One of them includes flights. I just clicked on it to check it out. Wow. It's domestic flights, and the rates are great. Like I could fly to Busan right now for $40.
Jeez.
You guys want to go to Busan next podcast?
44,000 won. So about $40. I could fly to Busan right now from Gimpo. So yeah,
you're very right.
What's
you're right, Jack. They really do have like everything, whatever they can think of, and it just keeps expanding. That's crazy.
Well, my question is, are they buying up companies that have already come up with these ideas? Like, is it because Facebook gets accused of being like monopsony, right? Where it's like any competitor, if there's this smell of like a competitor, they just buy the company and absorb it into, just
I think there's a combination of both with Kakao. I mean, one thing that was actually surprising is when Kakao bought Daum back in 2014, that was actually kind of like a shocking thing that happened here, because Daum, although they weren't the number one like search engine, they were still pretty big. Like I mean, Yahoo isn't number one in America, but they're still pretty big.
But right? In that relationship, you would have thought that Daum would have been the leader.
That's why it was so surprising, because it was this small, relatively new startup. I mean, they'd only been out for 4 years at the time, buying an older player, seen as a bigger company at the time, and they swallowed them up, and it became Kakao Daum and not Daum Kakao.
Right? Yeah.
And so that was something that was really surprising. So I do think that there's a little bit of buying. I mean, their Webtoons app now used to just be like a Webtoons app, and now it's the Kakao Webtoons app. They recently rebranded it. One thing I think to change topics a little, and maybe this is part of where they're coming up with this idea, something that I read that's really interesting about Kakao is their corporate culture is apparently very different from the Samsung, LG, Hyundai, Korean.
Is it more a Google model?
Maybe, I don't know much about the Google model, but I think so. I think it's a little bit more,
it's more flexible, kind of
exactly.
Work hours and stuff.
I'm not sure about work hours. I didn't see that in the article that I found, but what they do have is that basically there's a couple of unique things. One, everyone uses an English name there, apparently.
Wow.
So you have to have like an English name when you work at Kakao. But also with the names that you have, with the names that people use in the company, everyone uses their name in the company. Now, to anyone out of Korea who's listening, it's like, yeah, you use your name in a company. Of course, everyone's going to call me Kevin. I'm going to call you Ryan or Jack. That absolutely makes sense. But what you have to understand about this is that Koreans don't use names in corporate settings. But they don't, like, ever. When I'm talking to my boss, I don't say, hey, James. I don't say, hey, Bill. I say, hey, boss. Hey, manager. Hey, team leader. Hey, CEO. You use the title always. Mm-hmm. And so in the language is built in that hierarchy, whereas Kakao eliminates that hierarchy by using names. And so even if I'm hired above you, like you've been working at Kakao for 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, you're a pretty good programmer, but I get hired in as your boss, right? I'm not going to come in and you're not going to be like, oh, hey, boss. And so I'm not immediately above you in the hierarchy. I am above you in the hierarchy, but it's not seen the same way, because I'm going to come in, you're going to be like, hi, I'm Kevin. Hi, I'm Jack. And I'm going to have to prove that I know my shit in order for you to trust me, because of the way the language works. And so they've eliminated that hierarchy status there, is one of the things. And I think that's smart. Pretty fascinating.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, because language, this is a little bit off topic, but I read a book a bunch of years ago about that in Korea, and that hierarchy is actually one of the reasons that Korean Air, the company, they actually use English in their cockpits as well.
Right, because the sunglasses situation, is that right? The air crash, the airplane crash?
Maybe I don't know about the specific example, but yeah, exactly. There was that
was in Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, that's exactly where I read it. What was it? Not Outliers.
It was the one before.
One of Gladwell's books. Yeah, where they were talking about how back in the day, Korean Air was like a really shitty airline, and it's because like of the hierarchy. So if the co-pilot saw a mistake, and the pilot, they'd be like, "Excuse me, Mr. Pilot, sir, did you notice that we're out of fuel?"
And he's like,
and the
"Shut
pilot
up!"
just be like, "What up, little dude? I've been flying for 20 years. I know,
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing."
It might not have been like in the exchange wouldn't
No.
necessarily be that way. Like that's not the nuance.
I'm exaggerating
necessarily, but he's exaggerating the point. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't. Yeah.
He would dismiss
And
it in a
exactly,
culturally appropriate way, but probably
yes, of
not
course,
the
but they just
not the piloting appropriate way. You know, like
right.
operating.
And they're just like,
giant,
yeah, I checked it.
Yeah.
So that's where they did the same thing. They changed the cockpits have to speak in English because there's no hierarchy in English. And so now if the co-pilot's like, "Yo, did you check the gas?" It's like, "Oh, hold on," and it makes them think differently.
Yes,
So Kakao is
James,
basically,
I checked it already. Yeah.
I remember reading. I didn't read the research or what it came from. I read the bit from Malcolm Gladwell. I think it was the first chapter in that book, and he was giving all these. Maybe it was Outliers. It was giving all these examples of situations like that, and I remember the thing that was striking about it. I ended up Googling this to check it, but he was talking about he stated in the book that Korean Airlines went from being one of the poorest records of a major airline to like basically the best. I think they're number 1 or number 2 in the world now, like, and just consistently are. And
it's until now you start talking about their CEOs that are, throwing
peanuts
different.
But
that's a different thing.
But
that makes sense though.
The pivot was so sharp is what's so impressive about that story, is that it's remarkable that it was a linguistic issue, or whatever you would say.
Linguistic saved Korean Air, right?
Boom.
Until the peanut scandal or whatever. Was it macadamia nuts?
We could do an episode on the peanut scandal.
We should talk about the macadamia.
That could be a stash. But yeah, so Kakao is doing the same thing there basically, and there was I read an interview from one of Kakao's previous CEOs, basically talking about how their unique culture of the company, that's one of their really important factors, is what makes them so unique, and it's this open culture helps them to bring in new ideas. And so to some extent, maybe they are buying other things, and I'm sure that they are,
but they're also probably
they're creating.
A young person is not going to be afraid to speak up. Whereas in that the old system, they wouldn't. They just keep your mouth shut, fly under the radar for 20 years, and then you get to be the guy that calls the shots or the gal that calls the shots. But all those good ideas that are lost in that situation, in that 20 years, could be, you're talking about little, like Zuckerberg-esque kind of, people who are really grew up with computers. They're just gonna get better and better and have better ideas. And so
and that's what makes them as well. They're apparently considered a relatively hip company by the young people to work for as well because of that. So they're able to attract young talent a lot more because people know, like, oh, I can go and work for this company and I won't be looked down upon. Like, it's okay for me to give my stupid ideas, and maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not. But like, imagine the first person who says like, hey, we're a chat app, how about we get into taxis? Like like that's a pretty big jump, but it worked for them. I don't know exactly how that meeting went, but that's pretty cool that they're open enough to open a barber app. And
they recognize that weakness, the liability, and they fixed it.
Did you guys research, or again, I didn't really look into a lot of this stuff before the podcast, but I talked to my girlfriend at dinner.
That's good research as well.
Information drop coming at you guys, get ready. And she related a story to me about the founder of Kakao. What's his name? Joe Soo Young. Do you know this guy? Regs to riches type of story.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, what's your story?
I don't. That's all I know.
Oh, okay.
I was hoping that you guys would like fill me in. But she was just saying that it's a remarkable story that he came up against a lot of big competition. And
what I have is one of the guys who started Kim Bom-soo apparently he was already doing pretty well in the scene. He started Kakao in 2010, but he was like an ex-Samsung employee at the time, and he was just running like a PC cafe. He was running a PC bang, and he apparently built Han Game, and I don't know Han Game. This is before our time in Korea. This is before smartphones and stuff.
Right.
And apparently Han Game merged with Naver at the time, and they became part of the NHN Corporation. kind of the predecessor to what Naver is today. And so he was a part of that. And then he left to just work on other stuff for a while, and then he kind of came back, and that's when he started working on Kakao on his own, basically.
How much of Kakao's success do you guys attribute to like its branding? Like like, to me, it's magnificent branding. Like maybe the best of all the Korean products that I can think of, like even cars and stuff. Like I saw the new Gia, logo. Don't like it. It looks like KN or something. It's not right.
I do think the characters do play a part in it, because those characters, like you said, they're more than just in the app. There's stuffed animals for them. And I mean, they're on like TV. You go to web pages, you check out some person's Naver food blog about, the restaurant in your neighborhood. And how do they describe the food blog? How do they describe the restaurant? By using Kakao emojis or Kakao emoticons. Yep. They're like, I ordered this dish, and it's like happy face. And
even the name
yeah, people are using that, what I call like iconography or whatever. Yeah. They're using those characters, not just in the app. They're using them on their blogs. They're using them as stickers,
exactly,
or stuff. Like we talked about it earlier, but it was really fast. Jack started to explain how there's like Kakao Store.
Oh yeah, so I can tell you about that. Yeah,
like
I have
like the one that's in Itaewon. It's a multi-story building. Yes. I don't know if it's still there. I don't know if it was like a temporary thing. I think it's still there. They have
big. I just passed it.
Characters, the cartoon characters in real life in 3D. They're gigantic.
Big statues.
Big statues, basically. Yep. It's like it's a place you would go to worship.
Like like a brand, So my daughter, when she's about 8 or 9, I think she got her first smartphone a little bit earlier than that. But Kakao was that stuff, man. Everybody, all the friends knew about it, and so the Kakao characters. If you go to one of these stores, it's not a toy store. I would say it's more like a stationery store. If you had to give like a what kind of store is it? And so it's a lot of like, if you like understanding that Korea is all about studying, right? For the they're aiming for teenagers, right? Teenagers and kids is what these stores are centered at. Now I saw a lot of adults, a lot of couples shopping there as well. So I'm not saying that adults don't like it. Yeah. But it's, if you're there, the pocket, I think, is right there, 11, 12, 13. And there were just tons of kids there. And what you could buy is like a cushion for your office chair, your desk chair. You could buy little things that would go on your desk, like a pencil holder. And it's all got the Kakao Friends, on, characters on the thing or whatever. You could fill the pencil holder up with Kakao pencils. So it's a lot of stationery. And then some like, teddy bears or stuffed animals, stuffed Kakao Friends. And little blankets when you're studying and you get cold, you put your little blanket on. It's got a
all the things that cater to like overstressed young children studying. Like they have ergonomic armrests for your desk when you black out from studying.
So when you fall over, your head just kind of bounces off the silicone bubble.
Like rubber nose brace so you don't break your nose when you face plant after passing out on your desk.
Which, by the way, tomorrow is the Sunung Day, so that's actually quite fitting.
Oh, this is tomorrow's
tomorrow. So
that's
for all the students who have fallen asleep on their Kakao pillow, good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, you can smell the stress in the air. We could talk about Sunung. Sunung is a big topic. That's a podcast. That's definitely a podcast
for sure.
Yeah. Sunung is the national exam day, but we'll talk about that.
And essentially, you go to Daiso and you can get a cushion for your chair. Daiso is like a Dollar General kind of store in Korea, and you could go there and you could buy a nice cushion for $2, or you could buy one for $30 at the Kakao Friends store because your daughter likes this character. And so
which one did you buy, Jack?
That's what that was.
A little $28 more than the
which character is your daughter's favorite?
She likes Ryan. She's a Ryan fan. Ryan, I'm sure you're happy about that. Ryan the Lion.
Yeah, my name got very famous too.
Yeah, he's kind of the leader. He's Charlie Brown.
That's what I saw. Ryan is the most famous Kakao friend character, and of the Line friends, it's the bear. I can't remember his name.
Brown. His name is Brown. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
I told you.
And he's actually pretty big as well. That bear is not a small brand, but definitely doesn't stand up to Ryan the Lion.
Well, I'll tell you what is interesting about Line Friends is that it's much darker storyline, because my daughter got into watching the Line Friends. My daughter has some Line Friends stuff too, because she
is there an animated show?
There's an animated show, and it's very dark. So I loved watching it. I was like, this is the weirdest show I've ever seen. There's there's a character named James, and he's just like a dandy. He just, his hair is, coiffed to the side, and he wears like a neckerchief, and he's always has to look, handsome. And then there's another character named Moon that's just like basically drawing a circle with two eyes and a smiley face. It's the most bizarre show I've seen. Does
Kakao have a
psychedelic almost? Like it's so strange.
Does Kakao use its characters for any kind of
I've never seen a Kakao animation. So I don't know. I bet there are comics and stuff like that, but I've never seen the animated show.
I don't think I've seen them animated, but asking.
I didn't know that Line had like a show though.
Yeah.
Was it in English that you saw it, Jack? Or was it
no, I think it was in Korean. But my daughter would watch Pororo. We can go over all the characters. I could tell you all about them.
That's fascinating that Line has. Yeah. I had no idea that like these characters are coming from. That they've got shows now.
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious to see.
It's good branding. It's just like they really do. And I think the last thing that I wanted to mention was when you get a message, it makes the sound of the name Kakao. So it's a little
Kakao Talk. Or I do love the other one, the Obama version of it. I've never used it because it's really long, but it's like Obama's voice. Kakao Talk. You can set.
That's your
that's one of.
Do they have
one of the options? I don't think so. I have my phone on silent all the time now.
But... Sorry, my Trump is terrible.
That's pretty good. I thought it was pretty good.
not bad. But yeah, so I kind of just to summarize, Kakao is everything in Korea, and I don't. In some ways, like Kakao Talk, I think is the best. Kakao Taxi, I think, is one of the best apps. And there's a lot of competition for a lot of other things, of course. But you can live completely in the Kakao ecosystem if you come to Korea and do everything that you want fine. It will give you your chats. It will tell you what bus is coming. It'll tell you what the nearest restaurant is, and it'll help you send money to your friend who just bought you dinner. Like you can do everything in Kakao only here in Korea, and it's just so ubiquitous. It's so big, but it's interesting how it is all over Korea and only in Korea.
Yeah, I would. If you're gonna teach it a Hagwon here, download it immediately. Just get on. Just to surrender to it. Don't fight it. Don't say I'm gonna use my normal text messages or whatever. Just download the stupid app. Put it on your phone, because you'll.
Even if you're just traveling here, like we always mention, just for travel. If you're just gonna be here for a week, like what the hell? Just download the app, because it's got so much information in it. Like there's maps built into the chat. So you're here for a week. One of your Korean friends sends you a message. And in that message is built in their address, and you click on it and opens up the map automatically, and like, oh, that's how I find this house, or that's how I find this restaurant, or whatever. Awesome. I mean, Kakao, that's how I check my COVID numbers these days.
I was just going to say that's another thing. If you're coming like these days right now, I know Naver has like their interface as well. But getting a neighbor count, like if you're just going to be here for a trip, I don't know why you would necessarily do that. But with Kakao, it's something that I think I would recommend even for a short trip. And you still, like for the COVID QR code stuff, it's all built in. It's just easy.
Yeah, that's true. For the tracking of that's. No, I was just talking about it just shows you the information. That's how I check, like how many cases there were every day. That's just in Kakao. But no, you're absolutely even more right. Like that is your COVID passport, your vaccine passport is
so you can get it
in Kakao. Good point.
Well, not even
so it's there.
Not I will say vaccinated one, but like just like like the QR, like if you want to go into
but that tracks your vaccine.
Like having to write down your name and your number, you can just It's a lot easier.
But I think that tracks your vaccines as well. So when you scan your QR code, I'm pretty sure it shows them, like, one, it tracks who you are and where you are just in case. But also I think it tells them how many which vaccines you have, both, one, etc.
Yeah, I suppose that'd be.
Oh, I sent the package in the mail the other day, and they sent me. They asked me, "Do you want it on Kakao?" And I said, "Yeah." Just let me follow the package. I followed it on Kakao.
Like, public post.
Yeah, public post. Yeah, so I mean, it's actual, the government
Korean,
uses it, you know.
Yeah, Korean Post, exactly. Yeah. My only complaint with Kakao, and I really hope someone at Kakao is listening, because this thing just angers me to no end.
I'm sure they're listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ryan the Lion's got like a microphone right now, and he's taking notes.
Just focus.
The most damn annoying thing, for a web app, you can't change your email address. It's impossible to change your email address for your subscription on Kakao. So I signed up for a proper Kakao account because, if you move phones, you want to be able to log in on your new phone, or if you log in on your computer, you need to be able to log in. Well, I recently changed email addresses last year. I was trying to get rid of one and move to another. And I went into Kakao. I was like, okay, I no longer use this email address. How do I change it? Impossible. Completely impossible. And that's just ridiculous. Like,
wow, that's a huge blind spot for
what website does not allow you to change their email address? Like, everything allows you to change your email address.
I can say one more that doesn't. Coupang doesn't either.
You can't change your Coupang.
You
can change your phone number, but you can't change your email address.
I'm in a little bit of a pickle right now because my account got frozen due to like a login error or something like this. And so out of frustration, I was like, you know what, I'll just start a new account, right? I've got multiple email addresses, and I tried, and they won't let me use it because my name is registered already with the other one. So you can't, I couldn't kill the old one or modify it. So actually tomorrow we're calling them because that's the only way to get to it.
Yeah, that's the only way to get it done. I think you got to go.
Yeah. Well, because I've actually emailed Kakao customer service a couple of times trying to get in touch with them. Like, this is 2021. Like, I just want to change my email address. I can change my phone number. Why can I not change my email address? And they're like, nope, if you want, you have to you can delete your account and create a new one. But of course I don't want to, completely lose everything in my Kakao, because losing your Kakao
is a lot of storage, like all those chats and everything. Yeah.
It's everything. And I mean, like, and everyone who has me in their Kakao would lose me. So
there's no migration. There's no migration feature. So you couldn't like start a whole new account and say, I want to import or send from the other account.
Not that I'm aware of. I think you are nuking. I think it's like the nuclear option. It's account one done.
Maybe this is like a PSA right now.
Been in this situation where they're like, yo, I got a new Kakao. I have to connect with you again. What's your phone number and what's your email?
Well, Kakao does allow you can actually have multiple kind of Kakao users now. I've never messed with that, but I can have like a work Kakao. It's all connected to your same account, but you can have like a work ID and like a home ID as well. I've seen that option, but I haven't messed with it yet. But I just want to change my damn email address. That's all I want. I just
there you
don't
go.
wanna...
So it's not perfect. It's 1%, 99% Kakao right here.
It is 1%. It is very good. I still love the app, but I just want to change my email address. It shouldn't be that difficult.
Mr. Kakao, do you hear us?
Mr. Kakao.
Please answer. Yeah. All right. Well, does that did we cover it? I think we did a pretty good number on Kakao. I mean,
now we know
kind of novices in the whole subject. I was kind of curious if we'd be able to carry on. I hope this was informative.
I hope so. Yeah. Well, Ryan, you brought us back to Kevin. Nice job. You really I think you covered it all the important aspects of it, and we pretty much turned over every rock that you can, but it is really interesting actually. This kind of brings our little 2-week tech talk to an end here. I mean, you guys know where to find us. We're the Seoul Patch Podcast. We're on all the big platforms, Stitcher, Spotify. Mainly, we're getting a lot of downloads from Apple Podcast, I believe, is where most of people are finding us. Apple. So if you find yourself downloading our podcast on the Apple website, go ahead and give us a good review. That would really help us out a lot as far as getting us on other lists and into the ears of more listeners. If you like to watch and listen, you can go to our YouTube channel, the Seoul Patch Podcast, SEOUL, and you can watch the video right there, the podcast with the video feed there. And I don't know what else. You could go to our website, thesoulpatch.com, SEOUL patch.com.
We're pretty much everywhere as the Seoul Patch.
Yeah,
social networks,
you
the
search
web.
for the Soul Patch, and you will find us. Even though none of us have soul patches,
but you know what, man? I gotta say this. I went online. There's some jerky out there that's using it for his blog. We got to shut him down.
I think
I'm coming for him.
Was he?
No, he was there before us.
Oh, he was there
okay.
First. Yeah.
Well,
he had it first.
Maybe
by the way,
bring
Mr.
him
Soul
into
Patch,
the team.
if you are listening to this, you want to come on, come talk to us.
Yeah, right.
Come join in. We'll merge.
It looks like he was. It looks like it's someone that's had like multiple decades of experience. Is a teacher of some kind. Is a foreigner, and has a lot of pictures.
Oh, that would be awesome to interview
so Soul Patch meets
blog.
Soul Patch.
Soul Patch meets Soul. Yeah, right. Soul Patch is coming together to form one giant soul patch, I guess. There you go. I don't know. Yeah, that's
Voltron of Soul Patch.
Voltron of Soul Patch, right? All right, I better just stop talking right now. All right, we'll see you next week at the Soul Patch. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Later.
I like to pay a couple respects to the people that made me what I am today.
Nothing gear. It's all my love. It's all my love. The quiet man. It's all my love. It's all my love. Dopamine. Jim. It's all my love. It's all my love. It's all my love. The brain. It's all my love. It's all my love. Hey Bobby, let the bass go. Call me an eater, call me a dominant.